Hey guys, and welcome back to another Generation Y. My name is Mark, and I am from the UK. This is my friend Dan. He is from Southeast United States. Hey, dude, how you doing?
I couldn't be better. Let's just
Okay,
put it that much. You just headbutted.
I did.
It's like,
I was
yeah,
gonna
you're
try
like,
and
yeah,
find
man.
that
Yeah,
out.
I love this shit. Um, I mean, what are you at? Was this a Travis Scott concert or something? You just had.
Nasty.
I mean, it was pretty crazy, but that stuff's not that uncommon. The heart
Yeah,
attack stuff is weird, but like people getting trampled at shows or people die. Like it's you see those death pit things, those death spirals. Like I wouldn't never get in there. I don't find the interest
no, I mean neither.
at all. When I see that shit, I'm like, hell no.
No,
Like it's base. If you're thinking about 1,000 people running in a circle, like you're dead. You're dead if
yeah,
you fall. You got thousands of that stuff was always freaked me out. But Travis Scott, that stuff was pretty crazy. I thought the response to it, I was on like Jack Posobiec, like Mike Cernovich. They're pushing the like occult angle.
yeah. I,
I I mean,
I'm not a fan of that, man. I got to admit, when I saw Elijah's, because I watched the Elijah and Sydney Watson show because
you are
Sydney,
here. Yeah.
yeah,
Good
she's
show. It's pretty good. Yeah, I actually don't mind it. It's not every
no,
day thing, but
yeah, I don't mind it, and I've always followed Sydney Watson, but when I saw the title of like, is this an occult thing or is it? I kind of felt like, are we back in the 1990s talk shows where everything was, is this an occult thing?
hey, there
But
was a couple examples where that shit was real though. That is true. There were like some people who like kidnapped kids and like did some weird stuff at the time. Because some part of the fantasy, right? Like I think it's kind of the copycat killers almost. So like,
yeah,
that's what natural born killers is about. Is the
yeah,
popularity of serial killers and like the media loves them and they're on magazine covers. They're become like pop culture icons in a way.
mm,
So I think that could encourage people. Like, wasn't it the Satanic Panic was pretty big in Europe because of those metal bands?
yeah.
I can't. There's a documentary about it. I can't remember what it's called right now, but they had that dude that killed himself, like, and people picked up pieces of his skull, or it was a murder or something, and it was some crazy stuff. Crazy
Mm.
stuff to say the least.
Do you remember the Oh, where was it? Oh God damn it, I can't remember. But there were those three kids that were killed, and they did a documentary about it. And they thought at the time that whoever killed them had chopped off their private parts, and then it turned out about 15 years later that it was turtles. Like there were turtles in the river where their bodies were dumped, and obviously turtles will go after anything like dangling.
The dangly dangly, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so it turned out that that was how that had happened. It wasn't that somebody had done
I mean,
that.
if the occult stuff,
The Memphis Three.
I don't know that one. I have
Oh,
to.
dude, you need to look into it. You will
Okay,
love every documentary on that. It's
okay.
your thing.
I will definitely check it out. I actually watched a really interesting documentary. I'll just do this for my movie. I'm not trying
Okay.
to, ruin it for people, but it's on Netflix. It's about this guy named Sikalski, and he's a sculptor. And it's an interesting movie. I think it's the life and struggle or of something Alexander or whatever his name is. Sikalski. He's from Poland. The guy really did have a really unique vision of combining like I can't remember the exact phrase. Like Batman, like the old cart, and they have like those really big guys with wings, and like they're like I can't remember what type of art that's called, but it's famous. It's a famous type of art. I think it's
Well, the sort of demons and like where they're standing up really tall and they have those kind of
they're not
almost like
demons, they're like more like Spartan, almost Thor like figures. Like they're really like it's a certain type of architecture. Um,
okay,
it's super it's like one of the most famous types of architecture.
Renaissance,
No, no, it's more
Gothic.
modern. Nope, Gothic would be the demons and the gargoyles and like there's
Oh yeah, I
brutalist.
know. Yeah,
There's
you
like
talk about the sort
brutalist
of like
architecture.
Michelangelo Italian stuff.
Even more no, it's more like like just giant, like it's a beautiful, I'm trying to think of the architecture, what it's called. Let me look up some styles so if I can find it.
Yeah, no, I
It's
will. Well, I'm
um
glad that you're finding some joyfulness on Netflix because you ever get to that point where you watch Netflix quite a lot for a short period of time and you basically burn it out, and then there's nothing else to watch, and you have to wait until they start putting good stuff on it.
I think I think the term is considered Art Deco. That's what might be it's like a 40s style.
Okay, I thought that was
Yeah.
just like blocky and 40s.
Yeah, but the Empire State Building is Art Deco, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like these really interesting shapes and everything.
Oh,
I'm not
sorry.
saying,
I think Art Deco is the 20s. Sorry, yeah, the
yeah,
1920s,
like 20s, like
the
very,
Roaring 20s,
yeah,
and
like everything's really glamorous and but
yeah,
there's like long, everything is,
stainless steel,
yeah, like
aluminium.
shiny. Well, what he does is like this sculptor, he combines like Mayan stuff
Oh yeah.
with like Art Deco stuff, and then he can. But no, this guy he has. It's kind of terrifying. I don't want to. It's
Yeah.
not a big part of the documentary, but it's crazy. So he went to no schools. He was all self-taught. Like he didn't believe in. He hated Picasso. He would call him Picasso, like Pick Asshole. Like he's a really funny guy, unique guy, and Poland, and it's interesting his views
Mm,
on nationalism. But like, and it's kind of crazy, and it really shows you the pitfalls of nationalism and falling for because like he had Nazi symbolism in his early works, because that was before fascism was a thing. No one really understood and the dude, but it's beautiful stuff. I mean, stuff that is so crazy cool, so beautiful. I'll have to send the documentary to you after. It is really cool. It is
yeah.
really cool. But you do see is this man that didn't have any real like true training. He didn't look at people's bodies and try to do it. He did it all from like his imagination, from his head.
Yeah,
Um,
that's crazy when they do that.
and then but he said like a really crazy. So he would meet his father. He moved to Chicago at 12, and like when he got older, he was basically living off his dad. He was, as some people would say, a welfare queen.
Or a
Eh,
trust fund kid.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't get the joke. It's okay. It was offline. We talked about it.
Oh
Well,
yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah. No, you did. I just did a little look, but there was, so he was when he would meet his dad in like the Central Park there in Chicago, like every morning, like have coffee, a croissant, or something. Just hang. It's like because he loved his father. His father was this short little guy that like was tough, steel factory, but like, short. I guess he was like 5'3" or something, so short guy. But he loved his father. And then one day when he showed up, his dad wasn't there. And his dad was always there early. It was always there first. And then he sees a crowd of people and he walks over and there's his dad who just got hit by a car. And Deccan was killed instantly. And so he picks his father's body up and walks it to the local morgue. And they let him, like he asks, he goes, can I like cut him open? Can I like look? I want to like see what's like, yeah. So when they asked him like, well, where did you learn about the anatomy of the body? He's like, my father taught me.
Oh,
Pretty
oh.
crazy stuff. Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but it's crazy stuff. It's interesting.
That's insane, man. I will definitely watch that.
It's interesting to say the least. I think
Yeah,
art is one of those things that it only matters what you find in it, not what the world says about it. I
yeah,
think
yeah. No, I agree. I listen. I think that's almost undeniable. Undeniable, undeniable.
undeniable.
But I definitely have sympathy for people that try and push the case that modern art is just a tax cheat scheme, because there is a lot of modern art that, even though I do agree with the beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
There are literally people who aren't trying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like and and that's the thing I think that is really about our world right now. This is really where it's hitting the head. It feels like there's no new ideas, right? Like this kind of feels like where we're at. And I'm telling you, this is probably the same thing If I had to imagine, if I placed myself in like, the 13th, 14th, 15th century where the Great Renaissance is about, like happened or whenever it was, what year was it? Whatever, 1100, 1200, whatever it was, times of Shakespeare. So, since
1600.
so 1600s, okay. People were probably at their wits' end. Everything was monarchy. Everything was, this like feudal state, serfdom.
Oppression.
Well, always good. There's always going to be oppression, right?
But yeah, it was pretty brutal back then, man.
Yeah, it was no for sure. And well, just the quality of life was substandard. And I
Yeah.
imagine there was this yearning, much like we have now, for new things, for new ideas, for a breath of fresh air, as some would say. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing we're experiencing in music and art. It's just artificial flowers, as Bobby
Dude.
Darin would say.
I don't know if I'm sure you have noticed because you're a musician, that sort of 80s music has had
It's
a
back.
massive comeback.
Yes,
And
because like Bruno Mars like really started that trend like 5 years
yeah,
ago.
and then even like the electro, I can't put my finger on the type of music it is as well, but there's that kind of
Techno?
it's that sort of futuristic 80s stuff. You'll see like a pink DeLorean with a sunset in the background.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
type of music. Synthwave.
Okay, okay.
Synthwave
Yeah.
is everywhere. Like every other YouTube video has synthwave on it. I've used synthwave. I know I know that Sean on Zoobox has used synthwave. It's just made this massive comeback, and I think because people desperately want something new, but there isn't anything really, they're kind of searching for that thing that they like from the past. But yeah, I don't
I
know.
think I think it's this recycle period that we're in, It's these all it's part of the dying, like that. I'm happy it's happening. It proves that something in our society is decaying. And that doesn't mean it's bad. Cultural cohesion is good, like don't get me wrong, but that's also what creates mobs. That's also what creates, evil. Could be able to propagate even more. So I think this cultural decay, much like the Romans, when they became like sexually deviant and pedophilia was completely acceptable behavior. And, you just sit there and go, that deserve to die. They deserve to be destroyed. And I think that's what is going to happen to America, and it's going to be for the better of everybody.
You know, not to offend any Americans, but there is a saying in Europe, and I'm going to get this wrong. But there's something along the lines of America was the first great empire to go from adolescence to senility without ever going through adulthood. And what they mean by that is it was such a it's been, if you say sort of count from the beginning till now, um, 240 years, 245 years, and it's achieved so much kind of greatness. But they didn't kind of go through that period of growth, or I mean, obviously they had to, and they did to a degree, but it was rapid growth. Whereas a lot of other nations have had to kind of go through those hundreds of years of sacrifice and all the rest of it. But not that it means
I think
anything, but
the technological revolution that happened in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and then even in the 90s and 2000s has accelerated a lot of these changes in our society, but has also created something that is uncontrollable. And it is the ability to have workarounds. Parallel institutions can be completely online now. That's why the virtual
yeah,
world is going to be the biggest part of our economy. It's going to be where people actually can work. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but what I do know is the institutions will not be of this world anymore. You will not go to a physical school, most likely, like for college. Like there's going to be an entire new thing, and you're going to be able to go if you want to. But let's say if I was Harvard, I would 100% be looking to try to start virtual classroom stuff because you can get more money now. You can get more people into your classrooms. And then you have virtual assistant teachers, like automatic, like translations of dialogue from English to,
Hindi.
Chinese or whatever, I think
Yeah, I
this is
mean,
going to be the future for sure.
I agree. The only thing I think with certain institutions is that like with McDonald's, for example, and I know that's a completely different thing, but because I'm sure you've seen it, there's that clip about how the guy from McDonald's was told by his accountant about 20 years in that the way to make money from McDonald's wasn't so much selling burgers, it was buying up the buildings
Yep.
with borrowed money and
Yep.
then just letting inflation carry the cost of the buildings through the roof. And now they're like, one of the biggest real
Landowners.
estate owners. Yeah. And
Oh,
and the
that's
other thing I was going to say was
no,
exclusivity. Like I wonder if I wonder if someone like Harvard would actually want like an extra 1,000 students because I don't know about. I guess it's similar with Harvard, but I feel like in the UK, the universities like Oxford and Cambridge, they are very kind of exclusive. I feel like if they had, and I'm not saying they're good or not, but if they had like if they doubled their capacity, I feel like a lot of places around the world would be like, oh, I don't want to go there, which is stupid, but that's just the way I think it would work out. But I do think that generally, like, yeah, man, like if you can increase the amount of students at your place and nobody's having like deteriorating learning standards,
well, this is
then
going to be
yeah.
the battle of the 22nd century. 21st, 22nd century is going to be if Harvard wants to is they're not about education. That's not what colleges, universities are not about. It's ideological indoctrination, separating them into groups of different people based off of class, race, sex, gender, whatever. They are all about trying to separate us and then putting us all on equal terms. If they were really serious about that business, they would be out there trying to get the message out to as many people as possible and
Mm.
creating more foot soldiers. Antifa doesn't pop up overnight. Antifa happens through the course of a couple decades. Um, and it can, as we've seen in the last few years, they've exploded in popularity on university campuses and
Mm.
cities. And I think the antithesis to that is the new America First movement, right? But the problem is that we're going to run into with either of these ideologies is authoritarianism. Like you cannot shape a country without being authoritarian. It's impossible. It's impossible to do. So people, if we're going to live in this system, we're going to have to accept some of it. And that's where maybe my views on certain things. So people already have known why I kind of disagree with the way that we're headed as a world. It's going to be a very big battle, a spiritual battle, a battle of machine versus flesh. Like it's going to be
Terminator.
It's going to be biblical, is what I'm saying. Like
Mm.
literally, like that level of like they are going to destroy the flesh to move us into a higher state.
Yeah, I mean, I
Transition eventually. That's what the ultimate goal is, I think.
yeah, a lot of the people that I listen to say very similar things, and Elon Musk is kind of leading the way, really. He's
Well, who said that's not a part of the evolutionary track,
that's what I was about to say.
right?
Like a lot of these people are saying that. I'll tell you something I heard him say last night. And listen, I'm not one of these people that like worships everything Tesla does or SpaceX does or
Well, they
Elon
lost
does, but I just,
$150 billion in a valuation on the stock market today.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but I found this really interesting. He said, I hope I can try and remember this. He was speaking to a guy that was talking to him about um, what's the theory of where people think that the world isn't real, like where it's like a computer game. What's that theory?
The
The sin.
I don't know.
Okay, well, um, simulation theory.
Oh, simulation. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he was talking to this guy, in front of a big group of people about simulation theory, and like he was trying to explain. He was saying, "Listen, the chance that we are not the first, I think he said, is one in I don't know, 1 in 50 billion or something. In terms of being a simulation. But he said, you should hope that we are a simulation, because if we are, and this guy said the dopiest shit I've ever heard, and he goes, "Why is that? Do you mean because if we are in a simulation, then if things go wrong, we can just reboot?" And I was like, "What? What? Even if we are in a simulation and you reboot, you're still going to have to go through the world blowing up or whatever he means." But what Elon was like, Elon said, "No. The reason you should hope we're in a simulation is because if you want, if we're not in a simulation and we don't get off this planet, and by one means or another, whether we damage the planet or whether there's nuclear war or whether there's like a series of massive pandemics, then he said it'll be the end of civilization. And if we don't end up, he sort of hinted that if we don't give up these fleshy bodies and try and move into something that's more sustainable, like more,
Well, I would say easier to manage at the least.
yeah. Then he said,
Manageable bodies.
you have to find a way to guarantee the future, not hope for it. It was crazy, man. Like I was thinking, I kind of went through the phases of like at first not wanting to hear him, and then I was like, oh, I don't believe that. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought like, I suppose if I'm not being selfish,
well, I mean,
maybe there's a point.
Well, I think it's a logical thing to say. It's logical. The continuation of a species is not by the vessel.
No, because
that's our consciousness. That is really what makes us human.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm as smart as Elon Musk. I just proved it right here, right now.
There you go.
Bill me.
He said, if our consciousness isn't a physical thing, then he said, like, why, if you damage your head and you damage your brain, why does your consciousness get damaged? And he went into it in far deeper detail. He wasn't as.
That's an interesting point.
Mm.
But also, that's interesting. That's a cool idea.
And the way he phrased it, because if someone said that to me on the street, I'd be like, well, because you've had brain damage and the synapses between the brain things aren't there anymore.
Yeah, but it's a physical structure that allows us to have our consciousness. Yeah,
exactly. And that was
but if you get into Jung, Carl Jung, I recommend reading Aeon, Aion. Listen, I have barely cracked the book. I'm only like maybe 60 pages in. I've started rethinking my life, like in lots of ways.
Yeah.
It's dark shit. It's dark. It's a complete life. It's like his life work coming to some conclusionary destination that you're just not ready for as a reader. As a man who's dedicated, like him and Freud. Thank you. Freud. That's a weird word. Freud and him were actually friends. Like they were like friends. They used to hang out and they would interpret each other's dreams and do all this stuff. It's pretty. Then they kind of had a falling out, whatever. But when you have this is my theory, somewhat kind of piecing Elon's thing. I talked about it on Zoobox a little bit called the hypnagogic state, right? The hypnagogic state. So you have 3 states of consciousness. You have conscious, awake, active, brain. You understand, you're interpreting the world in this extrovert experience. That is also affecting your introvert self. Jung is actually the person who created those 2 words, introvert and extrovert. He created those words in the 1920s in Sweden, I believe. That is part of the simulation. So when you move into the final state, which is unconsciousness, which is your sleep, right? You're completely knocked out, flip of a switch, and you open your eyes and you're awake, right? But in that middle space is the hypnagogic state.
Right.
Basically, because there's theory out there, because we don't really know why we sleep. Still, we just know it's good for us. It's healthy. It makes us healthy, right? You will die if you don't sleep, which is such a crazy. Yeah. Why? Why? What is your brain doing that is so? Why do you need it? So it's this very and this is where Jung gets into some fucking wild shit, like some crazy shit.
I want to go read that book now.
Dude, I'm telling you, tread lightly. I've had nightmares like about some of the things I've read, like, or because you can put yourself into a hypnagogic state. So Aeon, the phenomenology of the self, or the investigation of the phenomenology into the self, or whatever it is. But it's this idea that we are the hypnagogic state is the state of you understanding your dreaming. We've all been there. We've all kind of come, like, you're waking up or you're falling asleep and you kind of enter a dream state. You've hypnotized yourself. That's actually what happens. Your brain it goes through the same exact process of being hypnotized. It's that, and it completely breaks down all logic of both between conscious and unconscious. And that, he says, is where you're confronted with yourself. Like, that is the moments where you're actually in, like, meeting your own self and your own shadow, as he calls it. And it gets really, but it's one of those things about our brain when you talk about the simulation is, if you're, this is what they're have a hard time trying to figure out with space travel. How do you keep brain activity going? How do you, keep, like, your mind going in this? This is like the Matrix. This is what the Matrix is about, is you have to keep someone in that hypnagogic state, that middle state between consciousness and unconsciousness, to
Sort of
sustain life.
semi-active.
So, well, yeah, but no, it's more active than being conscious or unconscious. It's actually more interactive in your head than being conscious, or to some. That's what people believe. So I'm thinking if you're going to have to create a state of consciousness, whether it's through a mechanical process like being able to transport our because that's what makes the consciousness real. That it is physical, but it is also not of this world. It's spiritual. There is something truly undescribable. Like, that's why the idea of religion and all these things stick with us. Why do people love superhero movies? Like, why? Why are we so obsessed with the hero story? Why is it that we have to see them go through horrible, awful suffering and then they rise from the darkness? Why is that such an internal part of ourselves? It's something that you can't feel when you get your heart broken, and it's a physical pain from an emotional response. And I don't know if if you can transport that entire vessel, that you don't need your vessel and you can transport that part, that would be incredible. It would be like the amount of processing power that would just take, I imagine. Like, it would be insane to be able to move that. I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah. Well,
rant over. My bad, guys. I got into that a little bit, but
no. I actually, I have night terrors. So I guess that's a similar thing, like whereas you don't know when
what
you're
is it
awake.
about?
Hmm?
What is your night terror about? Like, is it like?
Did you just see me, like the reaction I had when you started talking about that? That's the night terror. Like, it's not good, but basically, like, what happens is I will think I'm asleep. Oh, sorry, I'll think I'm awake, and then
But you're sleeping.
but I'm actually sleeping, and then I have this very similar thing that happens where I think I'm
Dying.
some bad stuff happens, and then I'll get woken up for real by the missus, and she's like, "Yeah, it's all right, you were sleeping." But you 100% feel like you're awake. It's
No,
crazy, man.
well, it's like that sleep paralysis,
That's the same sort of thing.
But
But they feel like they can't breathe. It's not like someone's sitting on their chest.
dude, that happened to me recently. But like, I felt someone squeezing my arms.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been me, but in my head, I didn't feel like I was moving, and I just felt pressure putting down. Like, I must have been squeezing or something. But listen, like, that is real.
Yeah.
That's the thing. In that moment, it transcends consciousness and unconsciousness into a new and a unique experience. So, like, that is this is where we need to search. This is the part that we need to continue to go down, I think. I think Jung had it right. Like, this is what the experience of like DMT for a lot of people. They cry, they vomit, they go through like this really
They have like
earth-shattering
laughing fits and
or whatever. Well, it's
screaming fits.
this hyper realistic, event that is completely unconscious event while being it's a hypnagogic event.
And
That's what it is.
The crazy thing is like you'll have somebody that is on they smoke DMT and they'll say that they saw something, and then somebody in a completely different room will say they saw the same thing, or in a completely different country.
Well,
Something really bizarre, man.
This is where when people tell me God doesn't exist, I'm like, one, that's a little too hubris for me. I don't know if anyone can prove. But the thing is, you can't explain to me what that is. You can't explain what happens when you hit that point. Because when you die, you're going to have that experience. You leave this world, you are going to get the ride of your life. In that moment, everything you've ever experienced will be released upon you. Every doubt, every pain, every love, every person you've met, like it's like that is that kind of, and you're going to be judged. That's why people who had near-death experience, God, as the being, is not going to judge you. You're going to judge yourself.
Oh, that's crazy.
Then
that's so
you're
true.
Damned to hell.
Yeah.
Which is despair.
Yeah.
That's why
regret
or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
No, because what it in what Catholicism explains hell very well. St. Thomas Aquinas actually breaks it down in his Summa Theologica. Highly recommend it. It's 5 volumes. I haven't read all of it. I've only read questions and excerpts from it. But holy crap, that guy thought a lot. Like way more than anybody has ever thought. I think ever. Like he thought, he thunk, he did it. He just was like in his head, mind wrestling himself. Yeah. It's that God is the ultimate vessel. That is the simulation. This is why this is a simulation. God himself has presented a simulation to us. So in that way, it could be from a religious aspect, it is a simulation.
Yeah.
It's a game, but very quickly, hell is not fire and brimstone. It is not having your flesh ripped off of you and your, like your innards pulling out and then you just go through it. No, it's literally despair. It isn't that feeling when you're really messed up and you know it and you really hurt somebody and that weight, that's what you'll feel for eternity. That's what it is. It's that weight of knowing that you'll never be in the grace of God, or like in the good place.
Yeah. So let's just assume that like one way of getting there is going to be something like what Elon is working on, like Neuralink.
Yeah.
Neuralink. Don't you think that's going to be like, even if we say that very possibly, if that is only ever allowed in the right hands and was never corruptible, that very well could be a way to like further evolve the human consciousness, and they say that very likely that will have to be the case.
Well, I mean, imagine you could transport 1 billion people on a hard drive, or you know what I mean, and and only have like 10 people running the ship, and then
the speed of light.
Yeah, and then you don't have to worry about mass and all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So like, it's really one of those things where you're gonna have to ask. I mean, you would have to think that. That's a good question. Yeah. Man, that is deep. Well, because this goes like, okay, God, what is God? God is ego. God is there's we've used God to explain a lot of things, like for a long time. It's the unknown. But okay, Just think about it. The only time, the most definite thing there is death. There's nothing more defined. There's nothing more permanent. And if you find a way around that, you're going to miss out on the only adventure to the truly unknown.
Mm.
That is the final frontier. Not
Yeah.
James Kirk and space and blah, blah, blah. Like, we're talking, there is nothing else that will be close to that experience.
Mm.
And that's why it's so terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why we can preserve ourselves. And it's kind of that human spirit where it's something, it's a trip you know you're going to have to take. You know that you're not going to be able to escape it, but just think of the ego that would grow from knowing you can't die.
Oh my God, man.
Like, or even worse, what happens if they could lock you in an eternal prison?
Absolutely. This is what I was about to move on to. How do we go from, like, let's say where we are today? How do we jump
They made
over?
that carbon copy fucking show. It's kind of like that. They can like lock you in a prison, like in your, like
Yeah.
in your, like, yeah. It's on Altered Carbon on Netflix.
Oh, I saw something else where they put you in some sort of carbon prison, and like they keep you. Oh, and there's another similar thing. I can't remember what film that was on Star Wars. You know, where they put you into that frozen thing when you
Yeah,
go to
the
prison.
Han Solo.
Um, but anyway, so my all I was trying to ask really was like, how is it going to be possible for enough people to kind of get on board with Elon's thing? Like, I know a lot of people have said, "Oh yeah, I'll do it," but I mean, there is so much space for things to go wrong, and I get it. Like, you have to sacrifice to progress in life, and like to evolve, like as a consciousness and as a species. But man, I cannot see a lot of people wanting to sign up to
Well,
having
but the
a
thing is, not many people would want to sign up and go to Mars and not return, right? So
yeah.
volunteerism.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
volunteerism, you know. And if I guarantee you, if they can find a way to maintain your physical body without your consciousness or create a copy of, dude, it's just too dangerous. It's
Oh
honestly too
my God,
dangerous,
it
I think.
is.
Because if you copy someone's consciousness or you do this, that, or the other, like, it creates all these ethical concerns. Like, can you eliminate the other consciousness? Because now
Dude,
technically that's a living thing. Like,
there's
it's
this. I've pictured it all already. The copied consciousness will be the pirates. Those motherfuckers, they're gonna band away from everywhere else. They're gonna be like the outcasts, and they're pirate copies of the original consciousness.
that's
So
pretty
they band
crazy.
together and become actual pirates, fucking up the original consciousness hard drives and causing
But like,
chaos. Then we have to fight the pirates.
think about this. People have had people who have had someone's heart put in their body. Like, they've had
Yeah. Oh, it's
experiences where they,
crazy.
like, their taste changes. That's
Yeah.
just a, like, imagine if,
They get cravings.
but like, imagine this. Someone gets like brain damage, they're like in a coma. And then they can what happens if they could put a
Yeah.
brain transplant of a new
Everybody's body.
brain while removing the old consciousness and then putting, yeah, like, think
Dude,
about it, at a certain age they start just transplanting your consciousness. Every year you get an updated consciousness so that has all your experiences, and like, and you just keep going. And so that if
I,
you do have like an event, then they can replace your consciousness
yeah.
with an old version of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Almost
you
like a
like,
reboot.
dude,
Well,
that's some fucking wild shit.
yeah. Yeah. That's making me think so deeply.
You know, but the thing is, just like, think about the heart aspect.
Yeah.
Like, just, or like a liver. Like, people say like they have emotion changes, like they think this differently. I'm like,
I've,
think about if you had like a Nazi, heart put in your body and you suddenly hate Jews. It's like the weirdest thing. You don't know why. Uh,
yeah.
I really like schnitzel.
Yeah.
I really do, and I hate the Juden.
I feel like there will have to be a lot of. It's kind of like going to be like a sperm donor. So like no Nazis.
Oh man. But what about, like, they're trying to genetic sequence, genetic, like, editing. The next will be consciousness.
Mm,
It will be conscious. Like, maybe you could remove a traumatic event from your life. Like, you could go in and edit that out
that
almost.
would be amazing.
I mean, it could be. It could also have a lot of consequences.
I was going
Like,
to say, but then I've learned a lot. Like I've had some pretty crazy events in my life, and you definitely learn from them. So if you're
I
taking that the way you're learning,
are you trying to create a perfect human? Is that what the ultimate goal, or are we acceptable having imperfections?
but
I
that's a question people should be asking at the moment because I feel like a certain group of society, certainly in the West at the moment, they are trying to create like the perfect soft, cushy bubble for humans. So like there's a shop in my country, like a chain store, and they're saying that they're going to have badges with people's pronouns on them. And it's so that they don't get offended. And like, so they are trying to do that already, but just in a really clumsy, backward, retarded
well,
way.
I think it's the exact opposite of what you said. I think it's protecting certain classes and races at the expense of others. Certain genders at the expense of others. So like the whole point of communism is that wealth is bad. So everybody needs to be poor. Like everybody needs to be the same. So they will make a straight guy, a straight person be like, "No, you have to show your pronouns." It's like, "But I don't fucking want to." Well, you
Yeah,
have to. You're going to bring people down to play on the same level playing field, and this is where, you know, it's spreading, but it's going to have a counter culture to it.
absolutely.
And you're going to have the same thing that we saw with like the 60s and 70s with like hippies. They were kind of more, oh, I want to be like naturalist. I want to be communist. I want to like hang out in my own space, do my own thing, live in the woods.
Mm.
And that I think there's going to be a counterculture to most of this stuff. Um, but there will be some really dark shit that's coming. Like
Yeah.
you cannot, but like, and I say dark. Is it going to be as bad as World War II? Is it going to be as bad as, like the Soviets and the Germans and like what they were doing to the Poles? I don't think so. I don't know. I hope not. I hope not. It's really hard to get away with those types of things today. Even
Yeah.
China, with the most extensive, expansive security state in the world, probably arguably the world, they still can't hide the fact that they're like torturing Uyghurs. Even
Yeah.
they. So it's one of those things where it's like it's very, very difficult to continue doing these things, and it's not as easy. So they're going to do it in other ways, like maybe like go watch V for Vendetta, and like just start thinking. I'm just gonna say like just I don't know if I believe in the conspiracy theory about population control and all the things that are going on in our world. I don't know if I believe that, but if I did want to, if I was like in my head, I need to get rid of this like group of people. This is how it seems like a reasonable way to do it.
Mm.
By like, like you're covertly doing it, or they're just doing it for money and they're greedy.
Yeah, that's likely. Yeah, no, it was Guy Fawkes night here the other day, so it
Oh,
was a good night to watch V for Vendetta. Very good film.
speaking of V for Vendetta, one of the main themes is the manipulation of the press, actually, and the state-run propaganda, which you definitely have, like
Yeah.
knowingly in your country. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone knows that you guys fund your state-run media.
Yeah.
And in the United States, it's a little bit different, but it's pretty much the same. They just kind of
Yeah.
build narrative now. That's like what they do, like the Rittenhouse trial. Like they're just saying, "Oh my God, the guy said he was scared of Kyle Rittenhouse." Like, oh really? Like, okay, that's what
Yeah.
exactly. No, he just said that I pointed my gun at him and then he shot me. Like that's the most important take away from that. Viva Frey put out that clip and it got, I think it's almost over 3 million views on since yesterday
Really?
on Twitter. Yeah, he just posted that like 40 seconds, and that's when Ricada was like, "Oh,
Oh
directive,
yeah.
that's it, that's it." Like they're like, yeah, great clip. Uh, but there is that possibility where, okay, I just blanked. What happened? What were we talking about?
Oh, Kyle Rittenhouse.
No, before that. Okay, the media stuff,
Yeah.
and the state-run propaganda. Um, well, if you guys don't know, everyone probably does. Project Veritas founder James O'Keefe and a couple of journalists basically got raided by the FBI for a stolen diary that they reported to the police months ago. Okay. They themselves said, hey, this person came to me with this. You might want to look at it. I don't know. We're not going to report on it. And then the FBI fucking raids their homes. And at the minimum, this is intimidation. I think also at the minimum, this is evidence gathering to see who Project Veritas has on the inside. This is really what it's about. They want to know who they got working for them, and this is already been decided by our Supreme Court in the United States during like the 1960s, whatever it was, New York Times and Washington Post versus the federal government, when Richard Nixon was suing them so that they can't release stolen documents. This has already been decided. Merrick Garland, 6 days ago, whatever it was, put out a memo saying, we will not target journalists. We will not target this, that, or the other. We will not do. And he literally, because they are a nonprofit organization, they are a investigative journalists. They are the whole protections. All the First Amendment's there. Like, it's there. They have everything that they could do to protect themselves from this type of persecution. And Merrick Garland is the one that had to sign off on the warrant. That's what people are talking about. Merrick Garland, the Attorney General of the United States, the top dog at the Department of Justice, had to sign off on that warrant to be able to go in and go raid these homes, especially of Project Veritas. And the law that they're citing is a old law. I can't remember the exact phrasing that it's called. You know, I'm not a lawyer, but basically it's only supposed to be used for like elected officials. Like, that's the only people who really get charged, and it's very rare. This is the same exact thing they did with General Flynn. It is like they just pull some like freaking law that no one's used in 100 years or whatever. Or they get it. It's crazy. It's literally insane.
So, you know, I there's some details that I haven't read or I haven't seen yet about the FBI raiding O'Keefe and Project Veritas. So there was a journal. Was the journal from Joe Biden's
Jill
niece?
Biden, or not Jill, but a daughter. No, his daughter.
Joe Biden's daughter.
Yes, and it had some. If it's this is the, it doesn't.
It
make
had
sense.
some accusations, right?
No, I mean, it's not an accusation when it's a diary, right? How is that? It's a confession.
Yeah.
If anything, but yes,
Okay.
yes, it will be basically his daughter. If this is allegedly her journal, no one has verified it. It is suspicious that they are freaking out about it at all, but which would make you feel like it's validation.
That's what I was
it
thinking.
being her journal, but that's not the case because it could be multiple reasons. It could be doing, I don't know. It's just shady as heck. We won't know.
It
obviously.
seems shady.
But she basically alleged that she was exploited as a kid in ways like having very inappropriate showers with her father is one of the cited accusations or alleged what's the word I'm thinking of?
Allegations?
Yeah, allegations. And then there's some stuff in there that's like, you know, she used to not like going over this person's house because they would, you know, basically the main gist of it is I have it. I have the something like it says like someone like something about showing the boys my underpants, hypersexualized at a young age. What is this due to? Was I molested? I think so. I can't remember spaces, but I do remember trauma. I remember not liking the Woolzacks house. I remember somewhat being sexualized with Caroline. I remember having sex with friends at a young age. Showers with my dad, probably not appropriate. Being turned on when I wasn't supposed to be. I remember Q-tips. I hated getting my ears cleaned. I don't know what
Most
word
kids
this
hate that.
I think this is.
This is what.
I don't know if this is the. Is this the fucking? What word is this? I don't want to read this like without being kind of. Let me zoom in. I think this is what it says. It says beating my vagina due to. Oh wait, is she saying
Damn.
I remember the Q-tips? I hated getting my ears clean. Beating my vagina due to overhearing parents have sex. What made me so attached? My mother, not emotionally available. My father was massage. I could get, my father was message. I could get love from men. What? Massage. No, my father was massage. I could get love from men. It's such a weird. It's you can tell. It's like it's her thoughts. It's her ramblings.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not. I guess someone like her mother saying, "I'm not your mother." Blanket being taken away. Not willing to go to the bathroom by myself. Being
So, do they know who the Wolzak thing is? Because she says something about.
investigated that to my knowledge. Like I said, these are alleged. But the weird thing that people are pointing out is the shower, inappropriate showers with dad. And some people, like I saw someone ask on Twitter, at what age is it inappropriate to
Yeah.
like? And I think I think like if you're, I would say as a man and it should be pretty young. Like you should
I would
stop.
say. I think. I think I think if as the father you're fully naked, I would say very, very young is the age where it becomes inappropriate.
Well, like what?
If
Like
a dad's in like swim trunks, like, because, if you go swimming in the sea and there's some showers at the beach, if your dad's in swimming trunks and everyone else is using the shower, maybe you have a shower in those showers because he's in swimming trunks. Your dad's in swimming trunks. But obviously, if this is a shower in the house and he's just got his dingaling hanging out,
will not care if a woman does it.
say again, sorry.
Women, like why can't women can be naked with kids?
Yeah, that's a good point.
But like I think it's just because the woman's body came from the woman's body. There's a more natural like relationship that you would think. I don't even feel comfortable around kids. Like I don't feel if they're not like what I mean is
Well, that's
like
good.
I did this truck or treat thing, like trunk or treat or whatever it's called, like just to help out at like because some guy at the jiu-jitsu gym asked me, he's like, "Hey, can you help like set it up?" I'm like, at first I was like, "Dude, like that's not. I'm single. I'm almost 30. I should not be hanging out like at a trick or treat thing. That's weird." He's like, "Well, you know me," and I'm like, "I guess, but I just don't feel comfortable." He's like, "It won't be a big deal." It wasn't a big deal, but I just think it's a strange thing. You don't, as a single guy, get or a period. Like, just you don't fucking talk to kids. Like, I don't talk to kids ever. There's like, I'm mowing my lawn, I'll wave. They throw a ball, I throw it back, but you don't talk to fucking kids, especially as a man. That's weird. It's a weird thing to see. So, like, I have this feeling like if I had a daughter, I think it would be very like once like they basically can be on their own like 3, like they can kind of like hang out. Like you can put them in the bathroom with you, like so they
Yeah.
don't run around break shit. But you're like you don't put them in the shower with you.
It's kind of weird. I mean, and I'll just quickly say, I think talking to kids, when you become a dad, that changes because obviously you're talking to your own kid. So like if you see their friends in the
Well,
village walk by,
that's
then that's
that's different, I
yeah, yeah,
guess.
yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. But that's different. Um, but yeah, I don't really see the need to have a shower. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just kind of weird. But it's not. I guess it's in combination with everything else that was in there.
It's difference with like one everything surrounding that was sexualized
Yeah,
and putting inappropriate there. It's weird.
yeah,
Like that's a weird when she's talking about her young being obviously a young girl having sexual experiences that are not appropriate at the minimum. So including your father in that page is interesting. Joe Biden is a creepy guy. Like, he puts off those vibes. How much of that is media framing? How much of that is people editing? I don't know. I mean, anybody can be put into a box and viewed like Trump can. Like, Melania made a weird face at the football game. It got like 1 million views because she did some weird thing. Oh my God, she's a human being. She can be mad at her husband. Like, yeah, dude, that happens. Like, or whatever. Mr. Perfect Families.
But Biden just seems super creepy, man. Like, the amount of people's hair he sniffs and touches, and
it is a
so
common
weird
trope for pedophiles to be like completely open and like strange because it makes people uncomfortable and they won't say anything.
Yeah,
like a lot of people.
It's super weird, man.
And he's the vice president or he's a senator. People are just need to get over it. Like, this is the way I look at it. You need to confront these motherfuckers. You need to let them know. Like, if my kid was getting what I felt inappropriately touched, I'm walking right over. And I'm putting my fat little fucking finger in his chest. I'm fucking pushing him. I'm like, get the fuck away from my kid. Because I imagine as a father, like, if some random guy's talking to your kid out in the front yard, you're going to go fucking do something about that. Like, you're going to go out there and you're like, what's going on? Everything cool? Everything good?
Yeah, if it's a stranger.
You know, like, that's not okay. And I don't give a fuck if you're the VP grabbing little girls' chests and like doing like rubbing weird
shoulders
stuff.
And
always talking about their age. Oh, you look like you're 18. Or I'm like, okay, that can be forgivable. That's a good joke. It could be a joke, you know, like, wow, you look so old. Like, I can maybe understand that, but it's always about their age, like every time.
And also,
like,
it's in conjunction with everything else that he is like. Like, if that was the only thing he did.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that on its own is not a big deal. But when you just look at the full picture, it's always about their age. It's always about like coming in and like sniff. It's weird. It's just weird. I always heard you know, you got to sniff a newborn. That's like the only time I've ever sniffed a kid in my entire life, because they smell like, that is it. You know, everyone's like, you got to smell the top of their head, you know?
Yeah.
And they do smell fucking like a baby. Like, like, if you're getting some sort of gratification from that, like, you fucking should probably go off yourself. But
sometimes I gotta smoke some DMT.
Tell him, no, don't do that. Go take the last DMT ride that you'll need. That is the ultimate DMT trip. These allegations, when it comes to the diary, I don't know. But we're talking about Project Veritas, who is mainly the only really critical, like, explosive. They almost cost them. And guess what? It's right after they almost lost the New Jersey governorship.
Yeah.
And it came down to the wire, which there's arguments coming around that they're actually might do a recount. There's legal stuff going on. It's unbelievable.
And like, the guy didn't even try, did he? The Republican nominee in New Jersey.
He tried. He just got no spotlight because no one thought it was possible.
That's what I mean.
The GOP didn't back him, really. And he almost won, and they invested like zero money into his race. But they spent something like $200 million on Youngkin's race. It's disgusting that it's something crazy like that.
Wow.
Maybe I'm wrong on 200 million, but it was a lot. When I looked at the number, I was like, that's like fucking way more than what I thought it would be.
Yeah. I mean,
but it's that whole event. Everything has happened because Project Veritas leaked insider stuff from the governor's people saying like their vaccine mandates are coming. They're just waiting until after the election. That's what, pushed probably a lot of people to vote for Republicans, because they're like, at least they're not crazy. Yeah. They may be QAnon, they may be MAGA, but Jesus, they will let you do it, leave you alone at least a little bit.
Yeah.
They incite an insurrection. That's how far it's gone. People are so sick and tired of it. But so that to me is suspicious timing. Only a couple weeks after that, and what other stuff they're working on, because they've admitted that they have people in the DOJ. They've admitted that. Like, that is gonna be pretty big. If it was Merrick Garland himself, that would be like hilarious.
Do we know like what was I gonna say? I just forgot what I was gonna say. Do we know what they had, like exactly what they took, or roughly what they took from James O'Keefe?
Took all his laptops, all his
Oh,
cell
they took
phones.
all of his. Oh.
They took everything. They took everything. And from what he said, according to the comments made by James O'Keefe on Sean Hannity last night, um, he was literally said that he was like 5 a.m. door like kicked in, like FBI flashlights, whole nine. Pulled him out into the hallway, like in his underwear, like in front of his neighbors, and and they took everything. They took it all. They took it, and this is the problem with our system. This is what happens when people think this system is there to protect. It is not.
Mm.
Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers, literally broke the Constitution in his first week in office. I can't remember exactly what it was for political expediency.
Mm.
He wanted something done. He didn't go through the proper process that he himself helped to design to get something done. This is this empire that we've created. And this is what the left gets right. It is imperialism. This is an empire. And if you want to be an empire, you got to play hardball. And unfortunately, it's going to come at the expense of the dissenters.
Yeah, and it's funny because to me, if they had a little bit more nous, and not that I'm supporting what they're doing, but you would expect that they would kind of keep things roughly as they were. Like, I'm not saying no progression on anything, but I mean, the sort of social changes that we've seen in the last 5 years, last 10 years, last 5 years especially, have just messed people's heads up so much that you are seeing a lot of people become more politically active and more kind of, like socially critical because of the stuff that they're doing in schools, like all of the LGBTQIA +1 stuff in schools, all the kind of racial stuff, and um, I don't know, I just can't. But then maybe it was happening before, and we just didn't see it as much. But I don't know. I feel like if the idea is to kind of keep people asleep and just they want to keep America rich and powerful and
Well, this
cheap
is going to
fuel.
cause the Streisand effect for sure. I think the Project Fair, it makes it bigger. Like it makes
Yeah. Oh, it
everything
will do.
James O'Keefe does like magnified now because he's kind of becoming it's like a folk hero, like in a weird way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's scary times. Like I
I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted between being scared and hopeful, black pilled, white pilled, but I'm more of what the Project Veritas proves is that you don't need much to really affect these institutions. He is literally like a group of maybe 20, 30 people.
yeah.
Like these people are like fighting the largest institutions that we have. He's fighting the media. He's fighting the intel agencies. He's fighting like state government, federal government, like taking everything on. This is the stuff of heroes. This is the stuff that we love. This is why people love these stories. And the problem is the government in its ego and hubris thinks it's going to get away scot-free.
Because they always do.
No, those times are over. I don't think people realize what's coming next. Like, I'm talking like France level shit. Like,
Oh, okay. Civil War. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
No, not civil war.
No. 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 I know.
It will not be a war. It won't even. No, it won't be a revolution. It will be something even more drastic than that. It will be complete obliteration of these people. They're playing with fire. I'm telling you, these people at the top think they're untouchable. Just like the French kings and queens and the monarchy in Russia, untouchable.
Zaz.
Those people were rolled out into the street like a peasant in days, in a couple of years. Like I don't understand why they're trying to do this to themselves. Like just let people be. And this would never escalate. People aren't escalating it. It's not
that's what I
the
was.
everyman that's escalating it.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
that's
not.
what I was trying to say in a really ridiculous, garbled way. Was my point was just I don't know why they wouldn't just let things be, instead of because the establishment is backing all of this LGBTQ stuff, and I'm not just picking that one thing, but that's just one of many massive
Well,
social
they
changes that
supported
they're putting on the
BLM. They
average guy.
supported everybody. They don't arrest Antifa, but they arrest the right wing
Yeah,
guy,
exactly,
or the
exactly.
anti-vaxxer or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just think like why didn't you just you'd already kind of got it good if what you wanted to do was to keep people sort of asleep and just rolling along, why are they messing around with it? And what worries me is with all of the revolutions that came before, 80% of them, and I'm thinking in my head of what you were talking about, the Russian Tsar and Tsarina or whatever they called her. Um, Nicholas II. The reason that these types of revolutions have always been possible is with a massive chunk of the military. And seeing how they are acting with your military and our military as well, just to a slightly lesser degree, but not much, is very worrying because it makes me think that they've thought that far ahead and they've thought, well, geez, we better start getting the kind of old school patriotic people out because they would be the ones that would side with the people that rise up, and now they're replacing them with establishment woke types.
Bootlickers, yeah,
Yeah,
bootlickers.
and that's worrying to me because revolutions have always needed an element of the military. Not so much in America because obviously you have many more arms, but you still have to have that organizational level of the military, the communications of the military.
Logistics and every
Yeah, logistics
supply.
like tactics, various bigger weapons and stuff, transport. It's very difficult to get.
No, but that's why it's not going to be. This is what I'm saying. It's not going to be kinetic there could be kinetic moments, just like anything else. It's going to be more brutal than that. They are trying to destroy the spirit.
Yeah.
That's what
Oh
they're
yeah.
trying to do. Destroy the spirit. Say you can't work here. You can't serve your country. You're going to try to destroy you. You can't stand for your flag. If you do, you're a supremacist. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's all part of the demoralization project that
Yeah.
Yuri talks about, Yuri Bezmenov. But it's even the response to this is going to be, and what I mean is so much bigger, in my opinion, is the spiritual response. That hypnagogic, that it's going to be visceral. They're not going to go and rip them from the ramparts. This is not going to happen. We don't need to anymore. People, the biggest thing you can do is not listen. They won't be able to do anything. This is what's happening in the United States right now. Literally, states are going to the federal
Mm.
government. That's what they're doing. They're going, no, yeah, no, we're not doing that. Screw you. The OSHA mandate stuff, which is bullshit. It's all built in to basically force everyone to get vaccinated. The response is not going to be protest. It's going to just not acknowledge. A protest is when you acknowledge the system. You're
Yeah.
acknowledging the system and its power.
Yeah.
The absence of a protest is so much more powerful in some ways
Yeah.
because it really just shows we don't even give a shit what you say. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even care. Like,
Yeah.
that is crazy.
Yeah. I don't need you to change your mind and give me permission because
You
I'm
don't
not doing
matter.
it whether you give it to me or not.
And I'm telling you, people in the military, I know a lot. There's a lot of pushovers. There's plenty to go around, probably 80%. Even before all this stuff started happening, most people
Mm.
are pushovers just in general until you go after their kids, until you start going after their own personal liberties and these things. The people that stay don't have the fortitude. They don't have the will. If you can't stand up for yourself now, you're not going to fight for anything. That's why the Russians failed. That's why the USSR and communism, that's why it fails, because it just doesn't work. People were literally, if you're willing to succumb to communism or to even a republic, your will be weakened.
Mm.
And if you are that guy, you're not going to stand to the fire, dude. You're just not. It's the summer soldier. Have you ever heard that term? Or
No.
sunshine patriot?
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Like they're good when it's good times, then they're good.
Yeah, yeah. Those are, most people are just going to do that. But the summer soldier, it was a big thing in Iraq, but in Afghanistan, it was well known that during the summers people would come out and fight, like because it was easy and it wasn't as cold and miserable. Um, the same thing with the Revolutionary War. The numbers would increase during summer, and then everything would fall off during the winter. But the guys that stayed, the guys that toughed it out, were fucking badasses.
Yeah.
And you couldn't tell those dudes anything, nothing. And now you're telling me the guys that are up in they're refusing, dude. These people in defendants in DC jail, the January 6th defendants, aren't allowed to go to mass. They're not allowed to cut their hair. They're not allowed to do anything unless they're vaccinated. They are
Wow.
their first 3 months, 2 months was 1 hour outside their cell a day. Then 2 months after that, of 2 more months was 2 hours. Now I think they're up to 5 hours a day. They're allowed to be outside their cells. And people have been beat. One guy was made to be blind because they beat him so bad that he literally is blind in one eye. And he's still in jail. He's still in jail after all this. They're not letting people get medical treatment, all this stuff. You're not going to tell me that those fucking dudes, when they get out, whatever
Oh,
the
yeah.
serve, those dudes, you're never going to be able to bother them because they're not a summer soldier. Because you know how they're letting people out of jail? If literally re-education, if you denounce President Trump and the MAGA stuff, they will let
That's
you out
so
on bail.
silly.
They'll let you out on bail. But they have
Mm.
hundreds of them. Every night at 9 p.m., they sing the national anthem. Every
Oh,
night.
yeah?
They have their own masses. They do it together.
Wow.
They pray together. And you sit there, you know what? These institutions don't have their minds.
Mm.
And that's the kind of, and some people have already given up. A couple of people have written letters, and I don't know if you can judge them. It's not anything I get. I don't think that's it's understandable. Some people just break. You can't even blame them. It's kind of like Vietnam soldiers, when they were being tortured and shit. You
Yeah.
can't, in a way, I get it. I don't
Yeah.
respect that you pulled out, but I get it. I get
And
it.
everybody's made of different stuff. Like in my opinion, that not everybody is born with the same amount of heart. Like I was listening to is it called Elite Vigilance or something? He's a guy, he used to be a Navy SEAL, and he
I know
was
who you.
talking he was talking to a guy, I think his name's Sean, the channel owner. He was talking to a guy who I think was a Marine. I'm sorry?
He looks like Michael Chandler to me every time I see him from the
Yeah,
UFC.
he does, doesn't he? Oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to unsee that. He was speaking to a Marine who spent time in Iraq in the Gulf War, and they got onto the subject of prisoners of war and stuff. And they were just saying that sometimes, or he was saying why do you think some people never break, whereas he said 90% of people do. And he said, I don't know. I guess because he was like, I couldn't go through what they went through. But he said, I guess some people just have that just unbreakability in them that just they don't give a shit. Like whatever you do, it will never be enough. So some people are just that way.
I've thought about that, a lot. I've thought about, torture. I've wondered, or being in that type of environment. I do know that I've been in those environments before where I'm in that heightened sense, and I failed a couple times. What I mean is it didn't perform well, it just didn't. I remember being young and going through my indoctrination. That's true. That's what it was called, indoc, for my SWAT team, the Tactical Response Force, and having moments of kind of panic, uh, and not breaking to the point almost giving up, stuff like that. That happens. I mean, you're just going through it every day, 18 hours a day, and but you keep going, and you just keep
Mm.
getting up, keep going. I never quit, but I quit on myself internally for a couple times, like you do.
Yeah.
Literally, dude, one more rep, one more, like, got to get to
Yeah.
lunch, got to get through this exercise. I just got to get, and you don't know why you're doing it. And none of it makes sense, but you just keep going, keep going. Like there was this one moment. So we would have to run a mile every hour for it was basically 2 straight days. No
Jeez.
sleep, and every hour you're running, you run everywhere. You have to run everywhere.
Yeah.
Every hour you have to run a mile, like legit try to, and like I was having a bad moment. I remember this. And I was thinking of way out because I didn't want to quit, And so we had this big loop. It was about a mile around near the building where we were, doing our thing. And I was like thinking about jamming my foot in a pothole that I kept seeing, snapping my leg. Like that's what point I was at. Like if there's a car, like I might like lay out in front of it, like just to get hit, just to have an excuse to say I didn't quit, right? And I remember I was slowing down, and the dude that I was there with, my buddy Jay, and he's taking off. I mean, he's fucking crushing it. And I just didn't do well, right? And they didn't say anything to me then. But the next hour, we had to do it again. And this time, I smoked them. Like I smoked the pants like minutes. I shaved so much time. I shaved like 5 minutes off because like I was motivated again for whatever reason. And I will never forget that feeling like when I got back and I ran in and they were pissed at me. Fucking mad. My cadre, my instructors were mad as fuck. Because they know I didn't give it. Now they have evidence that I didn't give it my all.
Yeah.
I proved myself. I almost gave up. Like I proved it. Like they were mad, dude, and they smoked the dog shit out of me for it. And even my guy kind of turned my back on me a little bit. Like he did, and it happens, in those moments. When you have like your M4 and you're holding out and you got to hold the charging handle to the rear and you can't lock it. If you get caught locking it, you're screwed. And you got to hold it. So it creates tension. It sucks. And you could do that for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. Like they can just keep, and you're just, like every part of you, or they'll like give you a rock. They'll like start giving you rocks and shit. And you're just like, there's only 2 dudes. But anyway, I'm not trying to get into a big thing about it. But what I realized is, that was a big failure. Like that was like a big failure personally for me. And sitting there and like I let my team down, I let myself down, but I never did that again. And for the rest, like I never did that again. I never not tried my best. Like I never not tried to give it. I made mistakes, sure, more, but in that type of way, like I always gave it my best. Like when I was in those moments, I always just kept moving. And I think that's kind of part of that will that I saw guys, dude, literally quit after 10 push-ups. Made no sense. Like you just started.
Yeah.
Just started.
What are you doing?
Literally like a push-up or something.
Wow.
I'm done. I don't want to do this. And you're like, dang, or, dude, I would gag on my way. I would gag like from just thinking about what I was about to go through on the way. Cause it was fucking gay. Every day, 3 a.m. fucking, you got to run 50 laps on a 16th of a mile track or whatever.
Oh,
like,
that's even worse, man. When you said a mile a day, I thought it was like cross country or something.
Oh, a mile a day? Oh no.
Sorry, Sorry, when you said a mile an hour, I thought you at least meant like around a big field or something.
No.
Just
That
round
one. No, that we did have to do like a big loop.
Oh.
But every morning we'd have to be there at 3 a.m. to get your workout in. I didn't get home until 10, 11 o'clock at night. 10 o'clock. So the night before, and you have to clean all your gear because it's covered in paint and grime. You have to have pristine uniforms.
Yeah.
And I remember driving my 1986 El Camino, being like, oh, like I'm not even kidding. Like sick. Like knowing what's about to happen to me.
Yeah.
It's that is like the balls. Like you gotta have balls to step in that gym, dude. The first time you step in there, it's scary. It's a little weird. But then it's every day. Every day you're being terrorized. Like, dude, I mean the workouts were fucking absurd. Impossible. Like, but you did it. It was Indian runs. Do you know what an Indian run is?
No.
So an Indian run, and we would do it with 45-pound like exercise balls above your head holding it. And so what it is, it's like everyone gets in a line,
Yeah.
right? And then you're holding the ball. The lead guy's like holding the ball over his head.
Yeah.
And then the dude will, from the front, like will hand the ball back, and he's got to sprint around the track and catch up to the back.
Oh my god.
So like you're running, like you're not walking. You're running. You're at like a good jog. You're probably going 4 to 6 miles an hour, like a good decent jog. Like you're moving. Your heart rate's up, and then you got to sprint to the back from the front, and you just do that.
Oh, so that means if you've got a guy that's slow, that means all of you have to run even further, waiting for him to get to the back. Oh, that's the worst.
No, it's even, but like then you get a guy that's fast in the front, and you're slow.
Oh yeah.
Now you gotta fucking catch up to the whole group. So like it's brutal, dude. They had trash cans just placed everywhere because you're thrown up. And dude, we did that. I think the longest I ever did it was like an hour straight of sprinting, almost the entire time.
Brutal, man.
Yeah, and and then after that, we're gonna do leg exercises for an hour. Oh, and after that, we're gonna do burpees. We're gonna do as many burpees as you can in 30 minutes.
I'm actually feeling tired.
It was fucking hilarious. It was like, and that shit was just the start of the day. And then you go throughout your day getting your ass kicked. And I mean thousands of push-ups, sometimes a day. Like jumping jacks, 4 count, 500. Like, it's fucking awesome. It was awesome. I lost 24 pounds. Like, I was not a big guy.
I bet you did.
I was fucking hilarious. It was hilarious. But after that, dude, I was never afraid to get smoked again. After I went through all of it, whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to suck. It's just going to suck, and that's what it is. But anyway, I don't want to rant on it.
Well, it obviously worked, though, didn't it? Anyway, let's move on to Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay from Wisconsin, QB, obviously had a bit of an injury, was out for a while. I remember actually when Aaron Rodgers NHL draft, and I remember everybody thought he was going to be drafted first, and he was drafted I think he was like the 5th QB to be drafted, and I think he was the last guy in the room, and he was at the time everyone thought he was going to be the next big thing, and he kind of was. And anyway, so he was tell me what's been happening with him.
Well, Aaron Rodgers, people feel like he lied, but he did say he was immunized, like, or protected from this, which people took as vaccinated, but he wasn't. He got COVID-19, and then everyone was like, "Oh, you're not vaccinated. You're like a danger. This, that." They started shitting on him. So he went on Pat McAfee's show, which is actually a pretty decent show. He stays really apolitical. He doesn't talk about stuff usually. He stayed away from. They'll take jabs at COVID. That's a pun. But, they'll like, do a couple things, but nothing serious. Like, not trying to be one side of the argument or the other. Let's just say that much. Very neutral in anything political. And Aaron does a show with him every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, Aaron Rodgers and Pat McAfee are good friends. Pat McAfee used to be a punter in the NFL. And that's what he used to do back in the day. Right. With Peyton, he was on the Colts with Peyton Manning, and he was pretty good. But this Tuesday show comes around, and Aaron Rodgers kind of like is pissed. Everyone's misrepresenting what he said, what his story is, this, that, or the other, and he kind of laid into everybody, and said, like, basically screw you to everybody, like to everyone. He's like, listen, I called Joe Rogan, I listened to him. He's like, we're friends. He gave me some advice, and I took the advice. And
is everyone calling Joe Rogan now?
Yeah, you're right, Tim and everybody, Tim Pool. Yeah, I don't really. Besides that, it's worth watching his, like, it's like 40 minutes. They do it every Tuesday. It's worth a listen because he goes, listen, I don't give a shit. Like, he's like, I'm not, like, I don't care if you're left, right, CNN. I'm not going on CNN or Fox. Like, he's like, politics is a sham. And he's like, it's all a joke. He's like, I just want to do what I want to do. And because he is allergic to something in the mRNA vaccines. Like he's allergic to an ingredient, and there's like reasons why he didn't want to take it. Honestly, he doesn't owe this to anybody, but the lies that he was being exposed to, well, he had enough, and he kind of just went off. It was pretty great.
Yeah, I've heard from a couple of people. Well, I shall have to look at that. But yeah, I mean,
You should
I
check
heard
it
that.
out. It's worth it.
Yeah, I heard that he basically said that he was immunized by using alternate like medication, and then somebody said it was homeopathy, and then somebody else said no, it's monoclonal antibodies, and the other stuff that Joe Rogan did.
Yeah.
So I don't know at the moment whether it is homeopathy, because obviously homeopathy, no offense to anyone that digs it, like if you like it, that's cool, but it doesn't really have any proven work. Although I know somebody that absolutely swears by it, but then
Homeopathy?
homeopathy.
What is?
So homeopathic remedies, so they're all natural. So there's like no,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean.
These are fucking crystal people and shit.
Yeah,
Fuck
exactly.
yeah,
And
dude. Chill. I mean, if it works for your
well, that's what I'm saying. Like
whatever.
if you feel it works for you, then good for you.
Look at me. I'm a miner. I'm just here, dude. Mining information,
And
bitcoins, whatever I can get my hands on.
but yeah, so I don't know whether it really was homeopathic remedies or whether it was monoclonal antibodies, which, by the way, have just been approved in the UK and are now recommended by the government. So, I think it's kind of amusing that people have been ripping into Joe Rogan for so long. And
Well,
now,
everyone knows why. Everyone
yeah,
knows why they've been
most
ripping it.
people
And
do.
the thing that pisses me off, like Terry Bradshaw, famous NFL Hall of Famer, 4 Super Bowls in the '70s to the Steelers, the Steel Curtain, kind of like famous. Like if
Yeah.
he's a legit guy, and he's on Fox News as a commentator now, and he said, "I'm super disappointed in Aaron Rodgers. Like he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's obviously not educated. He's not a doctor. This, that, and the other." And then he goes and says, like, "Ivermectin is horse dewormer.
Oh
That's a
my
fact."
God.
And you're just sitting there, dude. Like, so to enter the NFL, you have to take something called the Wonderlic test, right? I think Fitzpatrick, he's still around. He's not very great. He's okay quarterback. He has moments. He's like fine. He's like usually a backup. But he has the highest ever like recorded, and he's from Harvard or Stanford, wherever he's from. But a 9, like, so it equates with your IQ. It equates with like the way you think. I've never taken it. It's not easy stuff to answer though, basically, to say the least. It doesn't really affect if you get in or not. It just kind of lets people know if you're like stupid.
Mm.
Like, are you just like kind of stupid? So Terry Bradshaw
Oh,
got a 9 on it, which means you have an IQ of a 93,
Jesus.
our average IQ of a 93. And that did he even care back then? Did he even take the test serious? Who knows,
How
right?
does he wipe his own ass?
Yeah. I mean, I think, he might be able to do that. Maybe.
That's a
Um,
stretch.
but then Aaron Rodgers got a 35, which is equivalent to like an IQ of 128, like somewhere in there. Like really smart, like a smart guy. He's not
That's a
dumb.
very solid IQ.
Yeah, that's like straight, like I'm probably sitting around 110 or something, 105. I don't know. So like, I'm not saying I don't know what the IQ is anyway, but I think the average is like 110, isn't it?
The average, I hate to say this, it's gonna fucking people are gonna go off at me, but it actually varies amongst race and country. But
Yeah.
I think the average across like the Western world is around 100.
I
Um,
think culture probably has more to do with it than just like race. Like it
well,
depends
they've
what
done
culture you
both
go on.
in
Yeah.
tests. It appears that both affect it almost equally.
But they had that guy. I can't remember. I think it was Lex Friedman talked to him. Somebody talked to him, like some big YouTuber guy, and he had been doing some interesting things in that realm of race and IQ. And he's like, listen, he's like, I don't even know if like it's a good thing to look into, but if you're not looking into it, like that's not science. Like that's not what
Yeah,
you're supposed
I
to.
mean everyone
I
else
don't
is
know.
looking into it. The Chinese are looking into it.
Well, if anything, they're just not wanting involved. Like they're very racist, people. But it's
But
normal in
again,
John
but
country. But
what I'm
they're
saying,
crazy.
sorry, but my point is, we automatically think about the racism aspect about anything to do with this. When I say the Chinese are looking into it, what I mean is China don't give a fuck about like LGBTQ. They don't give a shit about race. They want to know. Who are the smartest people?
Yeah,
Why
but
are they the smartest
what
people?
causes IQ to raise in life? I don't. This is where I think I'm not saying the science or any of that or like the studies, but it's probably more to do with nourishment. I would imagine like malnourishment through like
It doesn't
there's
work like
no.
that because a lot of the least nourished people are some of the highest average IQs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so like
But
Indians have
wouldn't you
very
would
high IQ.
but wouldn't you think if they were better nourished that they would have higher IQs?
I would
Like,
think that.
so wouldn't you say their baseline would be like just higher?
Yeah,
Also, the where they live, how they live, has to have a
yeah.
great effect. Like you,
Well, they
because like in
do. It
America,
does have a great effect.
yeah, I would just like culturally, because like in America, I walk into Walmart, I go buy a new outlet or plug or whatever. There, they're like don't have direct access, so they have to get more creative.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would just imagine like that has a greater deal than just race. I would imagine just how you live, like nature versus nurture, right? You know,
Yeah, yeah.
but regardless, 100, 105, whatever it is, there is something to be said that when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, it doesn't matter how intelligent you are. It matters about your ability to choose. And then like so he couldn't. So this is like they lost the Green Bay Packers because he had to sit out right because he had COVID because they're fucking stupid. They like why would you not just let him test negative and be good?
So stupid.
It is the dumbest. It is like the dumbest thing ever. Um, they were looking into suspending him, from what I heard, uh, because
Oh,
he broke protocol. I
yeah.
guess.
No, no, no. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just suddenly remembered something about that.
About
Um,
what? About,
about suspension and stuff. I found something earlier.
yeah, they were talking because technically he took something that's not approved by the FDA and the CDC. So like they were like, oh, like that's not right. I don't think it held up though. As far as I understand it, they
And
just went, eh. That sounds like
yeah,
a argument that could get very expensive.
yeah. And the other thing, the person that's really kind of irked me over this is Howard Stern. Let me play you what Howard Stern said. Hopefully you can hear it well. But I just feel like Howard Stern has become such a mongoloid.
Dude, he's just a
Oh, sorry, dude. Go on.
no, I was just saying he's just a bitch.
Yeah, he really is. Tell me if it's too like crackly or anything.
Worked up over the weekend about this fucking Aaron Rodgers of the NFL. I don't even know where to begin with that story. I mean, this fucking guy, I don't watch football.
This
Sorry, I'm
fucking
not a
guy.
big fan. I know the guy's a real good football player. That's why they put up with his bullshit. If I ran the NFL,
he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So, yeah, you know that he's important to the franchise.
if I was if there was decency in this world, I would throw this guy out of the football league so fast. What he did to his fellow teammates. And, bravo, Terry Bradshaw, for what you said, and everyone else who's got half a brain in this country. But this fucking guy, they should throw him out of the league so fast with the guy who crashed his car at 153 miles an hour. And some poor lady was walking her dog, and the dog and the lady burned up in his car because he hit him. And the last words out of her were just screams of pain from the fire.
Mm.
I mean, he's facing 40 years in jail. It should be a life sentence. I mean, he just essentially just killed someone with his car. But he should be thrown out of the league, which he was, I assume. And Aaron Rodgers, come on, dude. Really? That whole bullshit game. Yeah, I have the antibodies. Now, first of all, I don't know where these guys get their information from. They refuse. He at the press conference, he said he got his information from Joe Rogan. With all due respect, Joe Rogan's
Why would you go to Joe Rogan with a medical problem?
Yeah, you got doctors who study in medical school. I don't know what has happened to this country.
Crazy. So I just feel like Howard Stern is this kind of he's just become this spoiled king, sitting in his castle, pointing out at people either on their way up or standing out in the courtyard, and he's like, "Oh, can't believe you're so stupid. Anyone with half a brain would blah 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 blah." You know, like It just frustrates me. Like, if he has the antibodies in his system or not, then fine. If he means I've had monoclonal antibodies, then that's something else. And with regards to people going to Joe Rogan, I'm sure Aaron Rodgers spoke to numerous doctors first as well. I'm sure he didn't only speak to Joe Rogan.
I don't know. I can't remember his comments on what I don't. The thing that frustrates me on is the people were saying the same thing about Colin Kaepernick, kick him out of the league because he made a political statement.
Mm.
To Howard Stern, this is a political statement, right? Like more than well, Howard Stern is a big germaphobe, I guess, like super weird and whatever, so people, he's just a coward, honestly. It sucks to say that a guy that was really significant like him, I wonder how Carlin would take it, like George Carlin. I wonder if he would
I always
be,
wonder that.
I think, he probably would be on the establishment side. They all are.
Yeah.
They all these guys from back in the day, like that took risks, that were like arrested. I would hope George Carlin, but it's good that he's dead because it actually doesn't tarnish his thing. If Howard Stern would have died 3 or 4 years ago, his reputation would have been insulated and protected, but they cave. They are fucking spineless. Most people that are in this industry are going with the flow. They do whatever they got to do to try to stay relevant and not be an individual. And it sucks. It sucks. It sucks so much. But also, as Sean would say, you got to kill your darlings. Like, it's good to see these people that you thought were cool die.
Yeah.
Because he might as well have died. At this point, it's a death. Like, and he's dead to me in the sense, like, I'm never going to listen to that show again. Rich Eisen saying some, like, I like his show. Like I think it's a pretty good show. But the shit Rich Eisen was saying, unsubbed, done. I'm done with you. Like, you are fucking a guy who made a choice. And you guys are all this fucking, it's so annoying to sit there and go, what, you fucking really think he's a monster for just speaking his mind, for just saying, you know what, I ain't going the direction you're going, bud, but God bless. That's it. That's equivalent of what he was saying. And the NFL, because the NFL said, everyone was saying it. If you get the vaccine, you won't get sick. You won't get this. You won't get that.
You won't pass it on.
Right. And he said in that interview, and the NFL's like, we never said such thing. And it's just like, dude, whatever. State Farm said that they're not going to drop him. He has the right to be able to have an opinion. While also, and everyone is high-fiving these institutions for doing that. No, screw them. Because you know what they did? They removed all his ads from television. They didn't fire him, but they blacklisted him for now. They said, okay, we're going to hide him.
You have to tell me what State Farm is.
Oh, it's an insurance, like private insurance, home insurance, car insurance type of stuff. Private insurance company. Medical insurance, I'm sure. Yeah, probably. I don't know. Insurance. Life, home. Yeah. But it's one of those things where you sit there like, dude, these companies don't care about you. But they are about to find out very quick. This is what I'm talking about. This thing that's coming is not going to be this physical murder. This is going to be spiritual. We're going to rip their hearts out. We're going to take everything they love dear. No, but like spirit, in the metaphor of the spiritual sense, they have no more control. And that's why they're trying to move into the metaverse, like just more virtual stuff, because they're losing control of the physical world. They know it. They know it every day. More and more, they're starting to know that, like, well, we have to get a hold and handle on this virtual world first.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think the Aaron Rodgers thing, it's really not that big of a deal. People are fucking losers. Like that's it. Like, okay, Terry Bradshaw, like whatever. Like these people, Rich Eisen, they're fucking fools. They are shills. They are just propagandists. Sit there and talk like the same shit. They watch CNN, MSNBC, and they're just fucking trash people. That's it.
Yeah, that is it. Like, the problem is people that just watch mainstream things, and people seem to no longer be able to accept other people's decisions and opinions. Like what makes me laugh is a lot of people. I've read a lot of people saying, well, regardless of whether he cares about himself, what about his teammates? And I'm like, what about them? And obviously, they are basically asserting that,
Guess
all
how
he
many
could have been.
NFL players have died from COVID?
How many? Zero. Yeah. So they're obviously asserting that he could be passing it on, and isn't that evil? Isn't that terrible? But we know that you can pass it on not at the same rate, but like 80% of the rate that people that have been vaxxed have. So I don't who like it makes no difference. All of them are going to be passing it to each other if they get it. So I just don't see what the problem is really. But the good thing is that most of his teammates have said, "No, Aaron's cool. Completely respect what he's done."
No,
And
because did you see the NBA?
no. Oh, what with Kyrie
No, they're
Irving?
mandating boosters now.
Oh yeah,
By
yeah.
December
Because
1st, this December 1st, if you had the Johnson & Johnson and you haven't had a booster, you are going to be treated as unvaccinated. The FDA is already moving to go boosters for everyone in the United States. Now listen, this is where the ignoring comes in.
yes,
They don't have power. It's fake. Your government's power is imaginary. Yeah, everyone's just agreed to go along with it. Everyone's just like, oh, like, yeah, I respect you. Fuck Johnson, whatever his fucking name is over there. Whatever his Boris. Boris,
Boris
I
Johnson.
can say it for you. I know you don't have freedom of speech over there, but here, for now, we do, I guess.
What?
Yeah, they can arrest.
We
What are you
don't.
talking about? That new
Wait.
elect.
Yeah, but we could say fuck Boris Johnson. I don't think we're gonna
I
go
don't know.
get.
Not if you're bullying or harassing him with that new internet bill speech thing that's
Yeah, I
trying to pass.
know that's fucking ridiculous. But I'd like to see how they actually carry that out because you only ever really. I don't know, man. You
They'll
hear
do it.
about
They'll
like
do it just like they did in Scotland. They just arrested those guys and
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. But I mean, like the amount of people that talk shit on Twitter, I feel like the prisons are going to fill up fairly quick if they're going to arrest people for mouthing off. But by the way, this actually leads me on to something that's been on my screen, and I keep meaning to say before I forget, or before I cover it up with something else. The obviously Scotland has different laws to the rest of the UK because they got devolution. And yeah, one of the things that they have used amongst a ton of other ridiculous things is to instigate a vaccine passport. So I'm sorry, Scottish brethren. Your leader sucks. So does ours, but yours is just a dash more authoritarian and
If
seems to be a little bit more communist as well.
if the people there are cowards, this is what they deserve. They deserve every. This is what Solzhenitsyn said. He's like Solzhenitsyn. There's a phrase. I should probably look it up, but he basically goes, "We all knew it was happening, and we allowed it to happen, and everything that happened afterwards, like we deserved." Like if you don't, if you like seriously, this is where we're at in society. If you continue allowing your government to take more from you, you deserve every single thing that happens to you after.
Listen carefully. I get what you mean, but can I just ask you a hypothetical with
Sure.
regards to that? So I understand what people mean when they say that, and I partly agree when people say, listen, you deserve the government that you voted in. But if we bring it down to a smaller scale, like let's say that there are four people in a household and you are one of them. If the other three people, and like you couldn't move, you couldn't leave, you're just there, and like two people in the household vote for a really authoritarian landlord, and you vote for one that isn't authoritarian, or no, let's say the third person votes for one that isn't authoritarian, and you vote for no landlord at all, and they're like, well, I'm sorry, you can't leave now, you can leave in a year. I don't want to hate. I don't feel like you would deserve hate in that situation. Like I feel bad.
It's not about hate. It's not about any of that. You
But
deserve
I don't feel like they deserve it if they directly didn't vote for it. Like if they tried to get their way, but they
and if
just
you're
lost out.
engaging in the process completely makes you deserve it. Like this is part of it. This is part of our systems. We have allowed these systems to propagate as a nation, as a collective. Even though I'm an individual, at the end, I'm not saying that person personally deserves it, but the nation does.
Cool. Okay, no, that's cool.
It's not about personal ownership, but if you don't take ownership, and you don't accept responsibility for the role that you take in your society and your country, I don't know what to tell you.
As a
Like,
collective.
no, I'm saying as an individual. If you sit back and you, even if you vote and you do all the stuff and it just keeps getting worse and it keeps getting worse and it keeps getting worse and it keeps getting worse, you do deserve it.
Okay.
At some point, it's kind of like the Germans, like the Jews. This is awful, right? Like the Jews kept going along. And that's what Solzhenitsyn was talking about with the gulags. He's like, at a certain point, it's not like they need, it's awful that they died. It's a horrible, inhumane thing that happened. And I'm not standing up for anybody that would do something like that. But
How
at some
dare you.
point, what point do you accept responsibility for you allowing yourself to be pushed into this position? If you end up, would you say the same thing to a homeless guy that the reason, he had a really good job, maybe like was like, cheating in the stock market and doing all this stuff. And then he like loses all his finances. Maybe he gets addicted to heroin. And then he's like, I'm just going to be homeless. You don't have the same sympathy for those people. They get exactly what they deserved. That's what they get that's the role they wanted to play.
You didn't ask me whether I gave sympathy for them.
Do you?
No.
Yeah, because fuck them. Like, you want to be a scumbag, you have the right to be a scumbag. Like, that's it. Like, that, you have that choice. And
Thank
the people
you.
who sit back silently while murder happens. Like, what about like that Catholic priest in Germany that like allowed all these people to be murdered and like didn't say anything, didn't do anything? Like, you get exactly what you deserve after that. Whatever happens to you, whatever destiny you've set yourself on the path, we have to stop playing these games where it's like the government's fault. It's our fault. It's not Boris Johnson that's doing it to you. It's you and your neighbor and the guy down the street, the next town over. So that's everybody who lets this continue. If everyone just said, I'm done. I'm done.
So what should I have done to stop this?
Well, what can you do now? It's not about what you should have done, it's what can you do moving forward.
Well, either or.
I think collectivize, parallel institutions, find people of like minds, get armed, and be sovereign. The government is this, and this is the part that is hard. It's a hard thing. I think people find security in government. We find security in organization.
Convenience, I guess.
I don't know
as
exactly.
well.
It's organization.
Is an organization convenient?
No, it obfuscates responsibility.
Obfuscate.
I think that's the right word. I think it's like giving up that responsibility to other people, right? You're like, I don't need to worry about it. It's not even convenient. It may be convenience is a fair word too. I just think it's the taking away the responsibility from yourself, like the police. I don't want to defend myself. I don't want to have that responsibility and worry about defending my neighbor and their property. I will give that up to the state or to somebody else to do it for me at the cost of my own freedom and my own sovereignty. So at the end of the day, if the police come in and kick your door down and take your guns, you allowed it to happen. You're the person that, like, in your country, like the majority of people, like, why do they need guns? Why do Americans like do this ABC, right? In America, it would be a little bit more difficult. But if they come for our guns and people just start handing them over, we did it to ourselves. Like we did it.
And it happens so much quicker than any of you know. It's terrifying. Like I remember the exact day that it happened. I remember what it was like. It was literally here 1 minute, gone the next. And like if you had gone on holiday a week before the day where the handover came, and you came back a week after, you would have almost thought nothing had ever happened. Like the first time I saw a difference was when I went into the local model shop and they weren't selling pistols anymore. And I was like, oh, what happened? And he's like, oh, the gun buyback. Oh, yeah, obviously I was a kid, so it's not like I could be like, oh, I'm gonna go and march on this. But yeah, it was kind of crazy, man. You will be surprised how quick it happens for any of the states that do get that, because I'm almost sure that many states are going to have this.
I think it could be possible. I don't think it's coming though. I think you're about to see something else in America happen that hasn't happened in the world.
But people need to do something because we're still waiting for America to do the kind of protest that a lot of other countries have done for the with regards to the vaccine and so on and so forth. I know it's a lot harder in America because it's a much bigger place, so it's
Yeah.
really difficult to sort of get 500,000 people from maybe like Carolina or the Carolinas into Washington DC. It's just much harder than it is to do that in London or in Paris. Which is where we've obviously seen a lot of protests, like weekly protests of hundreds of thousands.
But that doesn't do anything.
No. I mean, well,
it just respects their power. Like if everyone in the country just said we're going to be a gun country now, they couldn't do anything. The laws are imaginary. Like it's the police, right? That enforce them. This is like talking about guns. This is exactly talking about guns. Okay, this is Solzhenitsyn. So this is obviously jumping in the middle of his thought. So I'm just saying, like, this is one of my favorite quotes. And how we burned in the camps later, thinking that would things have been like? Excuse me. Let me restart because that was a little rough.
Okay.
And how we burned in the camps later, thinking, what would things have been like if every security operative, when he went out at night to make an arrest, had been uncertain whether he would return alive and had to say goodbye to his family? Or if during periods of mass arrest, as for example in Leningrad, when they arrested a quarter of the entire city, people had not simply sat there in their layers, paling with terror at every bang of the downstairs door and at every step on the staircase, but had understood they had nothing left to lose and had boldly set up in the downstairs hallway an ambush of a half a dozen people with axes, hammers, pokers, or whatever else was at hand. The organs would very quickly have suffered a shortage of officers and transport, and nothing, notwithstanding all of Stalin's thirst, the cursed machine would have ground to a halt. If we didn't love freedom enough, and even more, we had no awareness of the real situation. We purely and simply deserved everything that happened afterward.
Yeah. It's
while they close down your
case.
while they close down your small business, while they strip you of your generational wealth and push it to the top 1%, while these same people are talking about making sure that you can't speak freely online because you might hurt someone's fucking feelings.
Yeah, but I don't. This is what I'm saying. I don't go by any of these. This is why when people are like, you don't have freedom of speech, I don't know that because I've never limited my speech. Ever. Not once. Not in real life. Not online.
You haven't?
No, never.
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 So you think...
Tell me to say anything and I'll say it now.
No, I don't. Well, I mean, there's certain things you literally can't say on YouTube. But, self-censorship happens, right? Like, if friends don't like Jew jokes, you don't say Jew jokes, right? But I mean, that's a way bigger conversation we don't need to get into. But I think the legal thing, I think you're wrong. I think legally you don't have freedom of speech.
No, you're right. But what I'm saying to you is, you're saying, so don't listen to the government. And I'm saying, correct, that's what I'm doing.
Yes. Right. But the speech should be the ember. That should be the ember that starts the flame. But this is a problem. Until you guys in your country really stand up. Like, you can hate BLM. They stood the fuck up. They got.
But you're saying to not do that. You're saying don't go out and make your voices heard because people have been doing that.
I think you can take lessons from things that BLM have done. They got everything they fucking wanted. Everything they fucking wanted. Everything. The government's completely kowtowed to them. Now, I'm not saying to go out and be violent. I'm not advocating for that. But I'm saying this ignoring of every standard of society. They ignored it. They just said, nope, it's our time. And their actions are indefensible, in my opinion. I don't think what they did was right. But it's the same thing you guys can do on the other side of the spectrum going, I'm going to peacefully not do anything that the government says.
Well,
If
I do.
if half your country did it, they would have no stand.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the small difference there, maybe it's not so small, is that BLM and things like it slowly kind of work there, at least in this country, slowly work their way up, and they would sort of and this is something other people can do, sort of trod carefully on various institutions to see who would put up with them doing their thing and who wouldn't. Very smart. And very quickly, they realized that everybody was happy to kowtow to them. The trouble with people that enjoy freedom, like libertarians, anarchists, people like that, is that no institutions will put up with you. You cannot be like an anarchist. You couldn't be like one of us and be like, hey, I'd really love to go on the BBC and have a chat. Whereas BLM can go on every single show. They can be on the back of every single sports jersey. So it's slightly different because
Well, the
it was
institutions
very
have
slow
insulated them.
until it was very quick. So there was
what
like
did they
3
say?
years of
Gradually, then suddenly, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like 3 years of tentative stepping, and then suddenly they were everywhere within a year.
It's listen, we're at a critical point. Like, it's here. Australia, like, wake up. Like, it's here. This is the moment that will define the future for your kids. This is the time. What place will they grow up in? What world are we going to give back to our kids? Because at the end of the day, whether you think about guns, what you think about this, what you think about that, vaccine mandates, it all doesn't matter. Because they're going to continue. Whatever path we're headed down, every single week, every single month, we're getting exactly what we deserve. It's coming. And until people start realizing that this is the moment where it's either you're a sunshine patriot or a summer soldier, or are you going to be the winter soldier? The guy that sticks through the tough of the fight, that makes the hard choices, that makes the sacrifices, that wraps their feet in, fucking their jacket so they don't lose their toes, but their tits are freezing. It sucks. It's the whole, until we realize that part of ourselves, and that's what Solzhenitsyn is talking about. Sitting there in a gulag going, if only we had pushed back enough to make the people doing it think twice. Because that hesitation is all it takes.
Yeah.
That moment of like, dude, I don't want to die. Like, I don't want to die for this. Like, who are these people? I don't care about these people. I care about my family. I want to go back. I want to do this. And people think that, like, this is why I don't understand people say, like, anarchy won't work. Maybe it won't. But these things happen in our world all the time. And it's always institutionalized. All of it.
I think that from speaking to a few people over the last few months about it, I think people's biggest issue, and I 100% can empathize with this, is that a lot of them say, it's not the fact that I don't think it can work, it's the fact that I don't know how we get there from here in this world.
I don't think
it's
not really getting anywhere.
It's not.
I don't think the idea is that just nobody can come and tell you what to do within reason, right? Like, within, like, complete reasonable, like, things.
Question. Well, that's what I mean. Like,
there is no way to get there from here to there.
But dude, okay, like without
in a literal way, like, it would take a while. I think it would take a lot.
Yeah. So the point I was just going to move on to, because you have to be able to be honest with people. You can't. I know it's nice to say, like, there is no way of getting there, or like we wouldn't have to find a path, or whatever, like, however you phrase it. I think the way of actually getting people to do stuff and really get on board is people need to start, like, really thinking and, like,
theorizing, like, actually theorizing, and finding out how to break down, dissolve.
Exactly.
Yeah, people have been doing that. It's the Anarchist Handbook. They get into it very heavily, but
yes, and
you should think about it the thing is this. Well, tell me how it's going to get better. Through your way. Like through the way that it
What's
is.
my way?
Well, like not your way personally, like this person, this imaginary person we're talking
sorry.
about.
Yeah.
Like
but,
you being the other side, tell me how you can fix it.
yeah.
How can you do it? How can you make it so that the government can't overreach? How can you make it so that the government doesn't get too powerful? How do you make it so that the government doesn't work with corporations to take your rights and take your wealth? How do you return that wealth through government? How do you do it? You can't answer it because it's impossible. There's no way to get there because government's the problem. It's one of those like I could say we could turn off the government tomorrow and the world will continue. But the government won't turn itself off. Just won't do that, right? So it's like, how do you stop the government like voting more people in, different people? Who are these people? Why the fuck does that guy get to decide who's from London gets to decide how you live in Liverpool? That makes no sense. Or whatever. I don't know any really areas. You know what I mean?
No,
like
that's right. It's a perfect example.
Oh, you went to fucking college? Oh, you get a job over this guy who's been working in the career for 5 years. Like it's stupid. It doesn't like the managerial system is not effective because you can't manage every single person the same. And the way we do it through the selective process, the act of democracy is suppressing the vote, as Michael would say. Michael Malice. You are literally the act of democracy is to suppress other people. That's the whole entire point. Whatever size is bigger. Like, what are we, fucking kids? We can't figure out any other way to do this. So we tried the republic. And then now we're doing some quasi-democratic republic, like bull crap. But to do what? To have a decentralized power. Why don't we just keep moving that direction? That's all anarchists are saying. We're not expecting, think about what America is. The decentralization of power is the whole point. The checks and balances. That is what the idea is. Keep moving in that. They are it's anarchy. If you look at the monarchy system and you look at the American system, it looked like anarchy to them. They're like, that's chaos. Who's the guy sitting there that's leading everybody? And we need consistency and continuity of government. And we need to make sure that there is a single focal point that we can at least point the finger at. Blah, blah, blah. So it's that ever-growing evolvement of decentralization. So I think if we started getting in there and be like, okay, there is no longer going to be a federal military. There's only going to be state military. Simple solution. You're stripping them of that. Now they're just like the Supreme Court. They're just a voice. It's either you choose to listen to or not. You got to take away their hard power. FBI needs to be under state control. Diversify it. Make competition. So now you have 35 FBIs that are good, and then you have maybe 25 that are bad, or 15. Excuse me, I can't do fucking math. Fuck myself. But you know what I mean? There are so many ways. How do you fucking get rid of the decentralized banking? Or centralized banking? You fucking just whittle it down. You fire everybody. You get rid of it. And you start anew. And if the whole world economy collapses, guess what's going to keep happening? They're going to trade oil. Everything's going to go on. There might be a couple months there, but it's then we don't have to listen to the fucking UN about goddamn climate change. I don't give a shit what they say. We have our own people here. We don't need to worry about what's going on over there. We can do that's what China gets right. China's we don't give a shit what you're doing. That's your business. You want to destroy your economies? Go right ahead. You want to make your people suffer? Go ahead. We don't care.
Yeah, I wish China was like that.
You paid $9. $9 for gas, you said.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. I pay $3.10 and I'm hurting. That sucks. For me.
I know. But listen, it's always been expensive here, but since Biden took over, I suppose it was partly because it's partly
why is
because
it so expensive? It doesn't make sense. Is it hard to get there? I don't get it. Is it because it's an island? What's the problem?
Well, so
Guys, there's no oil on your island?
Say again?
There's no oil on England?
Oh yeah, the North Sea is full of oil. That's how Norway is they use all of their oil to give money to their people.
What about natural gas?
Yeah, we've got natural gas, but not very much. Sorry?
What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you if you. So we do have oil in the North Sea. I don't fucking know that the ins and outs of like whether we use that oil. I don't think we do. Like, I don't think we use a lot of that oil for our petrol or gasoline. When Trump was in power, it was a pound a liter, which works out because we have different gallon sizes than you. It works out to around £5. Around $5.50 a gallon. So $5.50 a gallon is still very expensive to an American, but that's not bad to a Brit because obviously
Well,
a lot of
your
that
pound is,
money. Sorry.
your money's worth more than ours. Your pound.
Yeah, but also that goes to cover, like our socialist healthcare system and stuff. So yes, I might be paying, £100 or $150 a month in fuel, but I don't have to pay any medical insurance, etc., etc. So some people would look at it as though it's not too bad. But then in the sort of 12 months or however long it's been, 10 months that Biden's been around, obviously, he wanted to stop using American oil and go back to the old way of using Middle Eastern oil.
Yeah.
And the prices just went up and up and up and up. And I've never seen it. The last time it was this price was at the very end of our last socialist government in 2009.
It's around the time when the banking industry, all that shit happened, 2008.
Yeah.
But that's artificial. Your government's doing this to you.
Yes. Well,
So it's
it's a bit of
artificial.
both because everyone seems to be paying more for fuel.
Yeah, well, it's part of that artificial increasement though. So they'll tax you more to pay for the healthcare system that has unlimited expenditures.
Yes.
Unlimited, and then do you really think every dollar is actually used efficiently? Oh hell no.
Fuck
They
no.
are wasting money out the yazoo, got people in privileged positions. It's insane. It's insanity. What they're doing is communism. You always have shitty or subpar healthcare at the expense of living poorer.
I've got to just say, like, as somebody that's been in hospital basically their whole life, the
Yeah,
healthcare system here is
it's pretty okay.
fine.
It's
Like,
fine.
it's
Personally,
there's not a lot of difference between here and in San Diego. I can tell you that.
that's interesting.
I'm sure, like, if people look at the facts and figures, they'll be like, "Oh, this is this and this is that," and maybe that's the case.
Well, I mean, you would know if you're like, you've been in there a lot. Like, you would probably say, but like, your experience may be a good one. That's good. I'm happy it's good. But could it be better? That's the question. Improvements could be made.
Definitely be better.
Yeah, and unfortunately, with government, it's harder. It's hard.
Absolutely.
Like a competition. If there's no competition, there's no incentive to be better, right? As companies, as organizations. Yeah.
That's very true. And there's just too much middle management, man. Like, so much money gets put around for, middle management and not to where it should go or given back to the fucking people it was stolen off. Anyway, man, my ass is going to sleep.
I
And
know.
it has been
I know.
for about an hour and 10 minutes.
I hear you, dude. That was
So-
a long one. I didn't expect us to go this long today. I was like looking maybe hour and a half, 2 hours, but you know how it is when we get talking. It is what it is. It's what it is.
So, I'll give my 3 songs. I'm not sure if you have yours or not. No worries if you don't. Oh, you do? Good stuff.
Mhm.
So, my first song is Fool in the Rain by Led Zeppelin.
Oh, well, this is just his 50th anniversary of Led Zeppelin 4 the other day or yesterday. That's good. I'll do a Led Zeppelin song. Kashmir. I love Kashmir.
Oh, I was just listening to that before we came on.
It's such a good song.
I love that.
I would say go check out Sturgill Simpson's A Sailor's Guide to Earth. It's a great album. On Brace for Impact is a really good song on there. So I've said, go ahead.
And my next song, I guess is about 10, 12 years old, 15 years old. Family Business by Kanye West.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I love the drum beat on that.
Oh, I find Kanye to be interesting, to say the least. Like, I like Kanye.
Yeah.
His spiritual turn has been the most interesting point, like, of his music to me. My last song is by R.L. Burnside, called "Going Down South." This is like one of his last albums, and I gotta play this fucking riff, dude. It is fucking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, R.L. Burnside got this, and he's like old as fuck. Like I don't know if you can see him in this picture, but he is just dirt when he made this album, and he's an old blues guy, like from back in the 50s and 60s. He's really interesting guy. Highly recommend you check him out.
Yeah. Well, I will do. I've taken a note. My last song is by another English band, Pink Floyd. Shine On, You Crazy Diamond.
Yeah, Shine On, You Crazy Diamond. It's good. That's one of my favorite David Gilmour solos.
Yeah.
Is from. He is an interest. He doesn't. His stuff isn't hard, technically, skill wise, but the like attention to detail he is really good. People like it's hard to say, like, you see like the lightning speed fast guys, like he's not that guy, but he's like those bends he does, like
I know. I was just thinking that.
you're like, but he hits it perfect, like the note is perfect, like when he does it, and he rises like a wave. It's really cool. I really like David Gilmour. What a fantastic guitarist. I love it. Played a Strat, just simple setup and just let it ride. He was great.
What do you think of Clapton? And can you play Layla?
I don't play covers, so no. But Eric Clapton's fun, I mean, am I gonna say like
I am a big fan.
I don't hate him. I like Layla. I like those songs. Like I like his music. But if I was gonna go top 10, he's a great melody. He writes amazing melodies. Are his like real talent. Would he be in the top 10? No, he would not be in the top 10 for me.
But what I was thinking in that song is not even the melody, but it's him with the bending strings. Like when I watched,
he's great. Like
crazy. I didn't even.
He's amazing. Like he can write songs. Like I don't know. Like he's good. I'm not a big Clapton guy. I would rather listen to John Mayer than Clapton.
Well, it's time to end the stream. Yeah, it was a good one. Thank you, Dan.
Pause. I hope you guys have a good one.
And yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you again soon.
Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish